those. And again, when you just play the straight scale, it sounds sort of clinical, or just certainly not bluesy. The art comes in taking the notes of that scale, figuring out which ones are important to the chord, and doing all the slides and bends around it. Let me show you a scale I came up with that is in that same position as your first chord, so you don't have to move your hand all over the place, but you can play over this chord. It goes like this. And it's not really consistent throughout the octaves. It changes, just makes it easier on your fingers. And for me, it's real good for phrasing. I'll give you an example. If you're playing an A, and you go to that 4 chord, you can go, and it outlines that real well in that scale. And you can do the same thing with the 5 chord. Just move that scale up. Back down. Then back down to your 1 chord. And it's a really useful scale. The other notes that I like to add when playing blues are of course, the blues note, which is the flat 5, or the tritone. In context, it sounds really, really, really nice with a pentatonic scale. And of course, you can still use your minor to major third moves. And I think the last really important note to consider is the major 6th, which a lot of times I think of it as the Dorian note. It's a note that's specific to the Dorian mode. And it's also a note that sounds real good over that 4 chord. So that comes into play a lot, because certainly that 4 chord happens all the time in a blues progression. Now that you know some more notes to use for the blues scale, here's some more techniques that you can use to play them. Here's some techniques that are sweeps, which for me are always a little bit frightening. It's a difficult technique, or at least it is for me. So these are fairly short, so they're not quite as hard. The first one is hopefully pretty easy. This is one of the easier ones for me because it's based on a chord that you see pretty often. If you're in the key of E, you just play a major E triad. But the trick is, since it's 1 note per string, you can do 3 downstrokes right in a row. And it sort of makes it into one move. It's not 3 separate motions like this. You don't really come up to go back. You just go down 3 times right in one direction. And then I go up to the 7th. And the 7th would be an upstroke, so it's 3 downs and an up. And sometimes I'll even start on the 7th lower with an upstroke also. So it'd be up, down, 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 up. And from there, of course, you want to do some bends and some of those cool phrasing licks. Another one that I like to do is a very similar technique, just a wider stretch up on these notes. I start this time on the G note, and here's the sweep. It's the blues note, which would be a B flat, a C sharp, which would be your major sixth, that Dorian note. Then here we have the E, it's a key where it ends, that always works. Then I end on the minor third G, which is in the pentatonic scale. I bend that a little bit to make it sound like that major one. And I think I'll try a big, huge one here. This is another sweep, but this one's much larger. It's the king of them all here. It starts in the low E. Has three notes that are swept. It'd be the root, the third, and the fifth. Then I go up to the seventh with my pinky. So it's three downs and an up. Then I slide back up to the root. Do this shape here, which is 4 downstrokes right in a row. But you want them to sound separately, so you move your fingers. And then I go up to the E with my second finger, and the G sharp with my pinkies. That's a pretty long one. I'll play it slow for you. And that one takes a bit of work, but give it a try. With some distortion, that can sound real smooth. You can even add little things on top with your finger here like this. Let me give it a shot. So, in my never-ending quest to try to be analytical about everything, I decided to make a blues scale that had all the notes of the pentatonic scale as well as all the extra ones that I've just talked about. So I played that pentatonic scale, and I decided to add the major third, and decided to add the flat 5, and of course the major 6th. And just for the heck of it, I threw in one more, the 9th. Oh man, it gets confusing with all those notes. Let me try it again. There it is. And to try to get out of just playing a straight scale up and down, I came up with this pattern and this fingering. Check this out. Play a little bit slower. A lot of notes. It's kind of a cool, kind of fusion-y thing. So that's all the extra notes added in, sort of going in one direction, but it also works real well just to play a straight pentatonic and add those extra notes wherever they're going to work well. There's sort of an art to it, but the more you do it, the more it works.